Break down all the big stories coming out of WrestleMania Sunday. That's right, number 42 is in the books, and I gotta say, it ended much nicer. Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott, and we are here for the build-up show for Monday Night Raw. It's not any old Raw, though. It is the Raw after WrestleMania. So we're going to be talking last-minute rumors flying around about that, and of course, we're going to be diving into all the big stories that come out of WrestleMania and how that could lead into Monday Night Raw as well. It's the most exciting Monday Night Raw of the year. So without further ado, let's roll the intro.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, once again, welcome back to the channel, guys. Apologies for the technical hiccup there. It started with a review of WrestleMania. Well, that's a little spoiler for what's coming soon. We are going to roll our instant reaction review for night 2 very soon, but we're going to kind of get you hyped up and in the mood for the big show tonight. Of course, here at Rebellious Noise, we like to do this for the PLEs. We also like to do it for the big kind of Monday Night Raws and SmackDowns of the year as well, if there are international tours or things like Raw after WrestleMania, special events and things like that. So look, we're going to do it tonight. It is, again, probably the most exciting Raw of the year. Will it end up feeling our way through the show? I certainly hope so. Will we get surprises? Will there be returns? Will there be turns as you tend to get on a Raw after WrestleMania as well? Will there be NXT call-ups? We're going to be talking about that as we get closer to Monday Night Raw itself. We're just under 2 hours away from the show kicking off on Netflix, and we'll kind of act as your pre-show, your countdown experience until we get there. As I say, we'll be touching on some stuff from WrestleMania because, of course, it does play into Monday Night Raw quite heavily tonight, and the possible kind of surprises we might be getting as well. We're talking last minute rumors, and let's just go on to talk about what's actually been announced so far. So Roman Reigns is said to be there. CM Punk is said to be making an appearance as well. Obafemi and Brock Lesnar are both set to appear. There are rumors going around that they're going to open the show. I'm not sure if that is going to be the case, but there have been rumors about that. Of course, it's live from Las Vegas. The Raw after WrestleMania is always, one that people are excited for. And I think just with those names, I think they're obvious ones, but it does kind of lean into some of the big stories, of course, coming out of WrestleMania as well. Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker. There's a lot going on in WWE at the moment. And I think they're going to take a twist and a turn or two tonight. Let's get to some of these comments that are flying in. Aiden is back in the house. Appreciate it, Aiden. I know you wasn't able to join us over the weekend for the WrestleMania streams, but it's good to have you with us now. Hope you're looking forward to Monday Night Raw. You said there don't be many surprises as much as Paige and Braun and Belair returned. Yeah, it kind of felt like they were wasted at WrestleMania, right? I think the Paige one certainly would have been way better, in my opinion, to put on Monday Night Raw, but they did have her replace someone in a match, and now she's a champion. But I've touched on that in a bit of detail already, so if you haven't already, go and check out my review of Night 1. As I say, we're going to touch on some Night 2 stuff here as well. Aiden says Brock got removed from the poster for tonight. Of course, a lot of rumors going around about Brock Lesnar because he seemingly announced his retirement last night. Maybe JC Jane and Paige, I'm guessing. Oh, no, you mean Ethan Page, I'm guessing there. As far as people that could come up as far as NXT call-ups. I think they're good shouts, actually, to the people that are probably the most likely. So yeah, we'll be touching on that throughout this stream as well. Want to know what you guys thought of WrestleMania overall? As I say, we'll be showing a replay very soon of my instant reaction to Night 2, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't seen my thoughts on WrestleMania Night 2 yet, then don't go anywhere. You'll see exactly what I thought. I'll still be here lurking in the background, replying to comments, and as always on these build-up shows when we go live, we'll dive into some of the best ones as well. I'm going to be joined by Lucas later on, so hopefully that'll help you stick around as well, because when we go live, it'll be me and him kind of gearing up for that final hour as we head towards Monday Night Raw as well. Aiden says, personally, but it's a bit biased, I hope it's Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry, like, he pops up everywhere anyway. Like, he was on SmackDown, but obviously as an official call-up, it would be something quite different, wouldn't it? But Yeah, thanks for that, Aiden. Good to get your predictions and your hopes, I guess, for NXT call-ups there. As far as returns, I mean, there's not a lot I can actually think of. So, yeah, I don't expect too much tonight, if I'm honest. I know this is about getting hyped up and in the mood for this show, but I don't see there being too many surprises on this one because I think they've kind of, like you say, Aiden, they've kind of used up the page one already. So what else could they do? Aiden says Joe lost his belt, so I'm hoping he's here. Yeah, that's a good point. That could mean he's moving up. Of course, that's what we see quite often. But yeah, other than NXT people, I think if anything, it will be NXT, and it'll be like new stories and turns. You know, we're surely going to get some sort of progression or answer with Brock Lesnar as to whether or not he's actually retired. Again, you'll see my thoughts on that in a minute from my instant reaction to it last night. Roman and Punk's going to be interesting. Seth and Brock's going to be quite interesting as well. But like as far as like big returns, I mean Jericho's not coming now. Danhausen's already there. Royce Keys is already there. I'm just trying to think about the people that have been rumored to be showing up to WWE sometime soon. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you had something like the Hardys, or who else could I see showing up tonight and maybe being back in WWE. It's starting to get to the era of like the PG era stars are the ones that might come back now, you know. I'd like to see Damien Sandow. Random name just for out there. Perez turning on a Judgment Day. We could get something like that. I think the Judgment Day is definitely something we could kind of see break up, you know, like and our storyline progression as far as twists and turns. So yeah, that kind of makes sense. Aiden said as far as Joe Hendry though does have a match on Wednesday, but you know they've done things like that before, haven't they, Aiden, where they brought people in and then kind of tied up what they were doing elsewhere, you know, especially with NXT. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing who does appear tonight. I think there'll be someone. Like I think it's just tradition now at least to do an NXT call up. So I think there'll be some. Look, they could argue if no one's ready for that, or they don't have something for them, or a certain contract wasn't signed, then they're not going to bring people in or back. I think Paige again was that big opportunity, and it feels a bit of a shame that we kind of missed that. So I hope, if that was the case, that they've at least found something to replace that as a surprise as well. Aiden says Punk versus Roman is happening at SummerSlam, as Roman should have been DQ'd as he used the steel steps. Yeah, I know Lucas wants to touch on this when he comes on air later on as well. I'll get to ask him about it, but yeah, I want understanding what was going on with the steel steps yesterday. I was like, is this no DQ match? And I was like, oh, okay, guess not. And then Lucas started saying about it in our group chat as well. I was like, oh, I guess I was right. But yeah, let's have a kind of a look back at night 2. It was far better than night 1 in my opinion. If you do want to see my thoughts on night 1, it's on this very channel. We did an instant reaction review for that show as well. But like I say, we will also be playing a replay of my instant reaction review for night 2. So keep your comments coming. Again, I'm going to be here in the background replying to them, and then when we go live with the panel later on, I'll also be referring to the best ones in that section as well. So as I say, what we are now about to see is my instant reaction to WrestleMania Night 2. Welcome back to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott, and we are here to break down all the big stories coming out of WrestleMania Sunday. That's right, number 42 is in the books, and I gotta say, it ended much nicer than how night 1 ended. Overall, I mean, like, the show just felt so much better tonight. Look, there were still some things I would question, but overall, I'm much happier than I was 24 hours ago. So let's dive into that right after this.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, guys, welcome back once again. And again, I'm glad to say I'm coming on air happier than I was 24 hours ago. And that's because WWE have given us a far better show tonight. Again, there are still some things that I would question, but stuff that, to be honest, I don't think would have changed after yesterday's kind of blatant frustration from the fans. You know, obviously there was a lot of stuff online, and I did wonder if WWE might kind of counter from some decisions because of that. Who knows? We'll have to wait until see. You know, we see episode 74 of WWE Unreal on Netflix. But as things stand, I'm pretty happy with what they did this evening. And yeah, I think the performers, just like last night, to be fair, stepped up. And I think tonight's one had a bit of a stronger card anyway. We talked about this on the build-up show, but still, there was a lot to live up to and a lot to kind of make up for. You know, I was saying earlier on tonight before, again, the show began, that I was, you know, it was a lot to kind of put on the performance tonight, but I do think they did deliver. We're going to be breaking down each and every one of the matches and the big moments on the show as we make our way through this stream. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Let us know what you thought of WrestleMania. Got a few comments coming in already. Sludge is in the house. Good to see you as always, buddy. Says, what a night. Sludge also says, tonight felt like a Mania. I would have to agree. Again, a big part of what I was kind of feeling about last night was like, this just doesn't feel like WrestleMania. Tonight felt a lot more like WrestleMania. And the colors are much better. Yeah, just talking simply about the branding, it was very different on night 1 and night 2, wasn't it? We'll start there, actually, because John Cena came out as the host. It always bugs me when the host doesn't host. He just comes out and says, welcome, and then he says, here's the attendance. That was basically it on both nights. But yeah, he also kind of hinted at like, oh, we're going to start off with something big. And it was a graphic change. I mean, yeah, I like the graphics, but a lot of people I saw online thought like someone was coming out or a return or something like that. And thought it was maybe even a hint to The Rock because there was a bit of electricity in there as well. But it wasn't to be. The Rock didn't show up tonight. Where he could have shown up, hey, maybe the main event. I was actually thinking at some points throughout it, well, maybe it is going to happen. But it didn't. And the main event didn't really see any. Well, it saw shenanigans between the two wrestlers, but it didn't see any kind of outside interference, which is really surprising for a WrestleMania match and a Roman Reigns title match. So, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, even though I like that kind of fun stuff when it works. I felt like tonight was perfect the way they did it. Didn't need anyone else involved. It was a great story they told. But before we get to the main event, let's make our way through the show. As I say, it started out with John Cena saying, welcome to a WrestleMania Night 2 and all that fun stuff. But then we went straight into Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar. Now, you tuned into the Rebellious Noise instant reaction of WrestleMania Night 2. We already covered Night 1 as well. So if you haven't already, check that video out and you'll find out my thoughts on that. But as we come straight away out of WrestleMania Night 2, I wanted to let you know what I thought of this show itself as well. So let's get into it, guys. Let's move into Night 2 and the review for it. Again, as I say, it opens up with Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi, and my goodness, was this a fun way to start the show. It wasn't a long match. It was never really going to be a long match, was it? Let me see if I can get up the match times. We talked about this yesterday, and I do want to kind of compare the two as well, because I think for the most part matches felt pretty much on par as far as the length, but it was just so much more to this evening. I mean, they were better overall, they were longer overall, but still, yeah, I just felt like it was way better paced as well. There was one less match, maybe that helps. You know, they can spread over that extra minute or two for each of them. But yeah, let's get into the first one, which was only 4 minutes and 45 seconds apparently. But again, it's the kind of match where you're like, it's okay being short. That's kind of what it is. It felt like a spectacle straight away. People loved Obafemi's entrance, as they have done for quite some time. It started out with kind of typical back and forth, but Brock kind of, you know, was behind from the early on. He was looking very angry on the outside. He eventually did hit the F5 on Obafemi. Obafemi just kind of got to his feet after a little while. There was no attempt to pin him. Then it was a big choke slam to Brock Lesnar, who did exactly the same thing. And then, I mean, this was pretty much it. There was a huge powerbomb, and Obafemi wins. It was the right call. It was explosive. It was a fun way to start the show. And then came the shocker, guys. At time of recording, this is where we stand. Maybe it changes on Raw. Maybe it's a swerve. Who knows? Maybe it's real, but they changed their mind. I don't know. But at the time of recording, it looks like Brock Lesnar has retired. It looks like Brock Lesnar has wrestled his final match in WWE. I mean, I was so shocked seeing this. Yeah, I mean, even to say it, I just feel weird saying it. So Brock Lesnar basically started taking off his gloves, and I thought, hold on a minute. This is a bit odd looking. And then he takes off one boot and then another. And there's no real mention of it on commentary at the time because they're kind of just letting the moment breathe, I guess. But the audience know what this is. You know, I'm looking at this thinking, I know what this looked like. And yeah, later on when they do acknowledge it, they say the same. And they kind of careful on commentary to be like, you know, especially Wade Barrett being like, we don't know for sure, but it seems like this is what this is. But yeah, it looks like Brock Lesnar has retired. He did this kind of X mark, which I think some people are speculating so many different things about already, as Heyman got in the ring. And yeah, they just embraced, and Heyman was crying his eyes out as they started to make their way out the ramp. Brock was thanking the audience. It seemed legit. He was teary himself in the ring, it seemed. So yeah, I mean, it looks like this is it. Brock Lesnar's career is over, which is so shocking to say. I mean, yeah, WrestleMania against Femi, you paint it like that, you go, oh, okay, I could see that. But like much like with AJ Styles, it was kind of quicker than expected. People thought Brock might be retiring this year, maybe at SummerSlam, maybe to the hands of Gunther. But no, it just seems to be done already. Unless Gunther can call him out of retirement and say, no, let me retire you properly. It looks like it is over, but over because of Oba. And Oba did just before this actually did a little hats off gesture to Brock, which kind of was nice at first. When I first saw it, I thought that was a nice little kind of a moment there. But then after this, I'm looking back on that, going, man, like it was like he knew. And there's speculation as to whether the commentators knew, whether Heyman knew. I don't know. I don't know if Brock even knew. I don't know if Brock maybe just decided there and then, yeah, I'm done. It feels like a Brock thing to do, right? To not even announce it, or, you know, because you think WWE, they could have made a storyline out of this and all that kind of stuff, but they've had plenty of that recently with AJ Styles and Goldberg and John Cena. So yeah, maybe that's why Brock did it this way, just to be, I guess, a little bit different. But man, what a shock. Sludge says, I don't think this is it for Brock. This will be in Unreal, sort of like faking an injury. This time they'll be faking a retirement, and he will get a big pop when he comes back. This actually makes more sense for Gunther's storyline. You could be right, man. You could be right. And I hope, I'm not saying I hope you're not, because like I don't see Rock or anything like that. It's more like I don't want Unreal to become part of the show. Like, yeah, the Seth thing was really cool. And I like seeing the behind the scenes of it, but we don't need another one of them. And like, they've done fake retirements before. You know, AJ Styles himself did one, which was a copycat of the exact same thing that Mark Henry did. And yeah, this isn't in the same way, but like, I did wonder if like Brock was just gonna hit Heyman or something like that, and it was all fake in the moment. But like, they've done the moment now. The moment's complete. So like, once you've done it, I feel like you have to kind of commit to it. So yeah, if this is it, then man, what a career. I mean, Michael Cole talked about, you know, he was there from the start, and you know, me too, as a fan at least. I mean, yeah, I remember his debut like clear as day, you know, after WrestleMania actually. So Raw after WrestleMania. So it was yeah, it was exciting when he showed up, and it was exciting when he became such a big star. It was exciting when he came back after his time in the UFC. And yeah, while there have been kind of things in his career that I think were so-so at times, you know, and, you know, he became a bit of a meme and a parody of himself sometimes. I think it can't be denied the impact he did have on the business, and you know, on many occasions, just really, really entertaining matches and feuds. So if this is it, then yeah, well, thanks, Brock, for the entertainment. But yeah, what a strange start to the show. I mean, it's big story already. But yeah, Brock Lesnar over Femi, that was the opener. Brock Lesnar lost, as he should have done. and then yeah, seemingly has retired as well. So yeah, huge kind of I guess badge of honor really for Obafemi. Not only to win at WrestleMania at this stage in his career against someone like Brock, but yeah, like apparently he's retired him as well. So yeah, Sludge says if it is really over, then great career, Brock. Thank you for everything. Yeah, man. Like I always say, like the mark of a cool, exciting new wrestler is when you can't wait to play them on the video games. And I remember the first time you could play as Brock Lesnar on the SmackDown games, and just like how fun it was because Brock was such a cool character. Um, yeah, like yeah, loads of cool memories of Brock Lesnar. It's funny looking at his early stuff. I was watching his match against Kurt Angle the other day, WrestleMania 19, and yeah, he looks so young. He looks different, and like even when he came back after UFC stuff, like he quickly formed into the Brock we know today. But like it was that kind of middle ground between both versions of Brock still, and yeah, I mean even that, that was a long time ago now in itself. So yeah, he wasn't actually gone in the grand scheme of things as long as it kind of appeared at the time. Now he's been back way longer than he was gone. So, but yeah, this apparently is it. And if that's the case, then that was, well, what a way to go out quick. It's the kind of the Brock way to do it, I guess. But yeah, fun opener. Talking of fun matches, next up we had the Intercontinental Championship match. Of course, this was a 6-pack challenge for the IC strap, and it was a ladder match. And just as expected, this one, my goodness, did it deliver. It was a lot of fun. Strangely, though, again, we'll touch on the kind of not so fun points. They cut 3 entrances. That was their decision for kind of how to maybe make up for all the extra ads they had. One of which was Dragon Lee, who had massive dragon wings, so I felt kind of bad for him because it looked kind of cool. I've seen a picture of it, but I don't really know what the rest of the entrance was like. I saw videos from inside the stadium. They were playing ads on the big screen while people were making their entrances, which is just so disrespectful in my opinion. But hey, at least you get a WrestleMania match. But yeah, anyway, for the entrance was cut. Rusev was there, Dragon Lee, and I think JD McDonough was already out there as well. Rey Mysterio got a cool entrance. He did the old "Who's That" jumping out of the sky. Didn't have the theme song, but still cool to get that moment again. Who else was it? Bouncy. He got a lot of fun reaction to Javon Evans and Penta, of course. He had a cool secondary mask on top as well, and yeah, had a cool entrance as well. This match apparently 15 minutes and 10 seconds. It was just full on action the whole time. Probably could have been a bit longer, but still was really good. Some of the highlights in this: Rey Mysterio hitting the 619 on Dragon Lee with the chair over his face. Oh no, wait, there was one with a chair here, there was one with a chair over the face, and Dominic, I can't remember which one was which now, but yeah, there was 2 similar spots, which I know Lucas probably isn't going to be a fan of. Penta hitting Rey with a West Coast, well, throwing Rey up to hit the West Coast pop onto Rusev, which broke the ladder, was a cool spot. And Dragon Lee was being put over really well by commentary in this, I got to say. So I know Sludge is probably not happy about that. But yeah, he was really being put over well by Michael Cole in particular. Hits the Styles Clash on Rey Mysterio with a nice little nod to AJ Styles, who of course just retired and was inducted into the Hall of Fame this weekend and was Dragon Lee's tag partner in the last few kind of months of his career. There's a Spanish Fly by JD off the ladder. That was really cool. Mexican Destroyer onto the ladder by Penta. Rusev pulls down Javon, who looks like he's going to kind of take the title, but it doesn't work out for him. There's a really cool spot of an OG cutter where it kind of goes in reverse, really. It's now Rusev who's on the end of some tricky offense from the bouncy one. It was a bit awkward though, because like Rusev kind of like looks shocked but like dives into it. Maybe you should have made it look a bit more like he was gonna just like, he knew thing he was coming, so he tried to just dive at him and hit him himself, a clothesline, but he could have just dived out the other way. But it was still a great visual, don't get me wrong. Then there was a Destroyer by Penta again, this time hopping off of the step to hit it. I thought it was so cool. Like, one of the most impressive things I saw tonight was that, which sounds a bit maybe bizarre considering all the big spots we saw. But yeah, man, really, really enjoyed that. And yeah, Penta picks up the win, and it's exactly what I think it should have been. I was saying on the predictions that we did on the weekend kickoff show this Friday and on tonight's build-up show that, you know, this is the kind of retention that you don't mind seeing. I think it actually works best for his character as well, because if, again, there was no story behind it. It was basically Penta going, oh, Ray, it'd be cool if you're in this match. Oh, all my mates, do you all want to, like, come and take this thing off me that I really, you know, hold dearly? And then, like, if he lost, like, it would, the story should have then gone into someone being like, see, you're too nice, you shouldn't have done that, look what you've done, and him realizing that, you know, and turning heel. And that was never going to happen with Penta's character. So the best case scenario was a Penta retention, or as we dubbed it earlier, I think a pentention. But yeah, that was a fun way to do it. Now at this point, we've got the first hour in the books. This was all free on ESPN, by the way. So I was thinking, man, what a fantastic hour. We were talking in the group chat about how much we were enjoying it, and we're just hoping the rest of the show would deliver. And I've got to say, I think it did. So let's move into that. But before we do, let's get to some of the comments. Sludge says, where were the entrances for Rusev and JD? What was that? It was terrible. Yeah, I've noticed you've missed Dragon Lee's name there, mate. That's so rude, says Sludge. But other than that, absolute banger. Completely agree with you, Sludge. I thought it was a fantastic match, a real kind of exciting start to the show. First, you got a big moment with Oba, Femi, and Brock Lesnar, and then you get a match like this. So contrast in style, but still both very enjoyable and did the job they needed to do. JD McDonough is incredible, says Sludge. Yeah, I think he really put the work in this match. He was, you know, really selling well and kind of, yeah, just super athletic and yeah, very impressive. Next up, we had the United States Championship match. Now, of course, I was saying on the build-up show that I haven't really been the biggest fan of this storyline. I don't really understand or have liked really the Sami Zayn kind of heelification, like just pull the trigger if you're going to do it. I mean, he looked disappointed at the end of it. He was definitely getting some boos. But yeah, they didn't do the double turn, so to speak. But, you know, he was not the fan favorite tonight, basically. I'll put it that way. Lil Yachty does the intro. Trick Williams comes out with a long train, which my wife quickly said looked like toilet paper. So I quickly jumped on Twitter and made a little jokey tweet about it. So full credit to her. At Scott_Reb Noise, by the way. Loads of boos for Sammy. And this was a really quick match, 8 minutes 50. Yachty interferes, but doesn't quite do it, and Sammy's still kind of looking all right. Hits the exploder, goes to hit the haluva kick. He's stopped by Trick, who hits him with the trick shot, and he gets the free count, and that is it. That is all she wrote. There wasn't much in this one. But still, it was the right decision, and so far, so good. You know, every match, I think, is the right decision here. And we get to the third one, and this may be the most important of them all. Yeah, maybe you could argue Oba because of, you know, the passing of the torch situation. Even if Brock wasn't retiring, I think it was quite important. But here, yeah, especially because I think Trick Williams, yeah, should have that gold around his waist. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like on SmackDown. But yeah, it was really nice as well. He had a lovely moment where he went and kind of celebrated with his parents on the outside in the front row. So yeah, really enjoyed this. And yeah, credit to all involved. I thought it was good. Where it leads to Sami Zayn, I don't know. I mean, if they go heel with him, then yeah, like that's it then, isn't it? The underdog thing is over. I know Rob was saying he kind of, you know, run his course, but at the same time, it's a missed opportunity. You know, I really think this year they could have made him, you know, challenge for the world title at WrestleMania and won it, but wasn't to be. Maybe in Saudi, maybe he turns heel and something turns around this time next year, and he's a babyface and he kind of has that underdog kind of spirit again and whatever else. But they're clearly looking to do something different with Sammy. So I guess we will wait and see what that is. Some comments here again. This was the bathroom break. Nothing really happened. Expected it was fine. Probably the worst match of the night. Yeah. It's hard saying things like that, though. I feel worst match of the night. Least impressive match of the night. The match where not that much happened. But then again, you got a 4 minute match on here, and I'm saying, this here, but 8 minutes 50 wasn't a lot of time. But yeah, it was the right result. So it is what it is. Someone has to be the least exciting match of the night, right? I guess it goes to these guys. But it was good. That's not me dissing it, but like someone has to be last, and I guess it is them. Let's move into the next match, though. It was something that changed on the countdown show, and we were reacting to it live on the build-up as well. So thanks to those that tuned in for the build-up show tonight. If you're new here, by the way, what I'm talking about is basically every night when there's a PLE, we like to talk last-minute rumours and talk last-minute predictions and get you kind of hyped up and in the mood for the PLE. And we go off on kind of really fun tangents and conversations relating to wrestling as well. So if you didn't join us this time round, then make sure you join us for Backlash. But yeah, this match was again, they announced on the countdown show it was going to be a street fight. Talking of announcements, all of us on the panel were pretty frustrated, or me and Rob especially, with them announcing that Finn Balor was going to be the Demon, and our big fear was that he was going to lose again. Now, I'm happy to report that was not the case, and Finn Balor did pick up the victory. It did make me feel, when he was coming out, as much as I enjoyed his entrance as a Demon, I did think that's a bit hokey, innit? But maybe that is, just a symbol of what the problem's been with that character, that side of his character, I should say. Anyway, before we get his entrance, we get the entrance for the King of the Luchadors. You get loads of luchas making their way to the ring, surrounded by a giant throne that there is a masked man on top of, and that masked man, of course, was Dominic Mysterio. He takes off his mask, and he's done that the past few WrestleManias as well. But yeah, man, I think he looked like a star. And he also, man, like, credit where it's due with Dom. Like, he's so good in so many areas. He looked terrified when Finn Balor was making his entrance. He really sold that. And I think, part of that probably was because they've been pals, I guess, behind the scenes, working so closely in the Judgment Day. He probably knows Finn's frustrations with the use of the Demon character and stuff like that. So I think, he did a fantastic job at selling the fear of needing to face the Demon. So I thought that was really good. This started out with a lot of chairs being used. There was a frog splash early on that was kind of kicked out of. There was a coup de grace that got missed, and then a chair thrown into the head. It kind of seemed from Dom to Finn Balor. Then there was the 619 with a chair. Again, there was one in the Ray match as well. 2 619 chair spots, but slightly different. Got the frog splash as well. Straight after this, only picks up a 2 count. Then there was some stuff around with the table. Finn again carrying on, getting up, more chair attacks and things like that. There was a cool drop kick into the turnbuckle with the chair over Dominic's head, which just flew out of the ring as well. Like, it was just perfect. And then there was a coup de grace from Finn Balor through the table, and it looked like he was landing an ollie or something like that. He was all slipping and sliding as he got off the table, which I think just kind of added into it. Look, it was a messy looking finish, but not in a negative sense. It just made it look kind of destructive. But yeah, fun match overall. This one was 12 minutes 58 apparently. Not super long for a street fight, but still, it's the common theme on this show or this weekend, really, the length of the matches. But yeah, a good one. And again, I think the right result. And so far, so good. Once again, I'm happy with the results here, and I'm happy with the performances as well. Then we get someone at the announce desk who is gonna, like, he looks like he's gonna be a special guest announcer. Like, I've looked into it. People looked up his name. Basically, he's a CEO. So it looks like he's just like. And they kind of implied this was what it was, like he paid to get that seat, but he didn't speak. So, like, he just paid to, like, be close to the action. Okay. I mean, I think I'm more forgiving of weird stuff like that today because I enjoyed the show. But yesterday, I think if that had... I mean, loads of people talking about it online, don't get me wrong. But you combine that with, like, all the ads and... Yeah. The priorities for TKO are... Like, I get it, money, but yeah, like laughable, really, a lot of this stuff. Anyway, what he was there for was the women's championship match, and this is the first result where I was like, I'm not sure about that. But a very fun match. 10 minutes, 9 seconds, apparently. Jade came out first. Never a fan of that. Never, ever, ever a fan of the champion coming out first. It should be the challenger awaiting the aura-filled champion. And it's not like Jade doesn't have aura. So, yeah, really disappointing. But anyway, she came out first, did have a decent entrance herself. Rhea Ripley had an entrance. They tried to explain her gear by saying it was kind of inmate inspired, and she felt like she was going crazy or something because of Jade. Cool. It's cool gear. We'd see her in all white. But yeah, it was cool gear nonetheless. Yeah, this is the kind of match I expected from these two, and I thought they performed really well. They actually gelled quite well together, in my opinion. I was saying to Rob earlier on the build-up show, I wasn't sure how they were gonna gel, being kind of two kind of powerhouses in style, but I think it actually did work really well. The heels did show up, of course, as predicted, and Rhea did get distracted, but it didn't lead to the victory for Jade Cargill. Shido did take advantage of the situation. She hit what they described as a sandstorm, which was the one-winged angel, and only picked up a 2. But it's pretty impressive, I got to say. Cool little visual there. Io Sky did come out to try and even the odds, at least make it 3-2. And yeah, she did do that. She was really kind of impressive in a little bit of a cameo that she did have on the outside. There was a really cool spot where she missed a kick that was coming her way from Jade Cargill by hitting a moonsault to get away from it, but then also hitting Beechin and B-Fab, which was really cool. Riptide was set up, but Jade slipped out of it. Jaded was set up, but Rhea got out of it, and then Rhea actually hit the Riptide, and there you go. Brand new world champion. WWE champion, I should say. I wasn't 100% for this win. Again, like I mentioned it a few times this weekend, I get it. I get the need or the want for WWE to put her in this position. But yeah, they've done exactly what I said on the build-up that I thought they probably shouldn't do, which is take the women's titles at the same time off of the newer talents and put them on the kind of more established talents. I thought that what they've done with the women has been great, and sometimes it kind of worked awkwardly the other way, where both women's main titles being held by kind of, I guess, quote unquote rookies, or people newer in the game, and I think it was sometimes damaging. But to change it, like one of each would have been nice. One of them held by an established, like on their way to being a legend type talent, and one of them held by kind of a newcomer who is making a name. So Stephanie and Rhea, or Liv and Jade. It wasn't to be, and it's going to be a bit strange seeing what happens with this group now that their leader doesn't have a championship. But yeah, I hope they keep the group together, because I think it's done wonders, especially for Jade. So, but yeah, cool to see Io Sky out there as well. Really bizarre that she didn't have a match. We talked about over this past weekend how it looks like she might end up having a match with Asuka at Backlash, but not a fan of her missing out here. Look, you can't give everyone a match, but like when she is as good as she's been and she's in a storyline and she's missing, it feels a bit odd, especially considering she's been such a big part of the big shows over the past few years. Last year, she was a big deal at WrestleMania. Michael Cole was banging on about her being one of the best wrestlers in the world, or calling her the best wrestler in the world, and saying, I ain't talking women's wrestler here, I'm just talking the best wrestler in the world. So they've gone from that, which I don't think is like they've changed their stance on her or anything like that. It's just not really worked out. I guess they wanted to shoehorn Rhea in, it seems, and they've done that, but they didn't have the same kind of I guess motivations to do it for Io, it would seem. But hey, at least she got a moment and she was involved in the show, but it's got to be disappointing. Then out comes your host, John Cena, who says he was really just weird. Like I said it yesterday, like he weren't doing a lot of his normal stuff, because I think he's trying to differentiate John Cena, the man, from the wrestler in this, and I kind of get it, but yeah, he seemed a little almost out of place. Anyway, he announced that it was 55,255 people there, so about 5,000 more than the previous night. And then they did that silly thing where they add them up and say, that means the total attendance of 106,972. Yeah, right. That's not me kind of poo-pooing the actual number that they would have got, of someone doing both nights, or however you want to count it, because it's impressive in the 50s anyway. But yeah, but the adding numbers together is just silly. Anyway, as I guess we kind of discussed and hoped for, this did lead to a Danhausen segment. First of all, though, it was Miz and Kit Wilson making their way out there, and then, yeah, Danhausen's music hit. And at this moment, I was really happy. I thought, you know what? You think about the last time I think he was on PLE was his debut, right? Was it Elimination Chamber, or was it Saturday Night's Main Event, or whatever it was? But, it wasn't that long ago, essentially, that he debuted. And as we've talked about on this channel already, it was a terrible reaction to him because people expected something else, and it was a bit of a weird spot to put him in, even though I think it was kind of obvious it was him as well. I know people were hoping it was Jericho or someone else returning or debuting, but it fits Danhausen. Like, it made sense with the crate. Like, it's his kind of character. Now I think a lot of people have come to know Danhausen's character and would get that a little bit more now, but it was nice to think, you know what, like, he's such a big part of WWE programming and a star that have to strike with the irons hot and have to shoehorn him into WrestleMania, as they should be doing. Then my feelings kind of changed. Basically the shtick was that he came out in his car, which is cool, and loads of little Danhausens. Michael Cole used a certain word to describe him, and like really jumped into like, don't ever go at me, that's what they want me to call him. And I just thought, like, okay, like, but did they say you better call us this, or did they say if you're gonna call us anything, call us this? I don't know. It was just a weird, I don't know, I keep saying shoehorning, but shoehorning in of that term. Just weird. And then like really playing into it, like being like it's and I haven't mentioned this yet, but the whole gingerbread man thing with Sami Zayn I think is ridiculous. It's like, is this the 90s? Like making fun of someone because they're ginger? Like, really? Not saying it was acceptable in the 90s. I just, it's just stupid. Like, that's going to encourage people to like go to school and say to their ginger friends, like, gingerbread. Like, I just think it's stupid. Sami Zayn kicking a gingerbread's head off was quite funny, but yeah. And then the similar kind of thing here, like they basically, Michael Cole made a joke about how he thought one of them was the cameraman. I'm guessing this cameraman's short. Like, that's, I get the visual effect, and if people like, want to be playing these roles and stuff like that, like, that's not for me to judge. Like, okay, like, I get it. I think everybody has their own space, and if it wants to be used in a comedic way and they're fine with that, then so be it. That's okay. But to then, for a person like Michael Cole, who isn't like size, to jokingly call someone else, I thought that was such and such. I just thought it was such a weird, like, it reminded me of being in school, like, stupidness. I don't know, maybe I'm getting caught up on this, but yeah, I just thought it was really weird. It kind of just put a sour taste in my mouth. I didn't really enjoy that. But the segment, it's not the use of people like that, like that's not it. It's it was the weird commentary of it that I just didn't feel comfortable with. Danhausen said that he liked John Cena. Miz got annoyed about this. Kit attacked one of the guys and then got hit after saying you're toxic, got hit in the balls. There's a bit of a melee, and there's a 5-knuckle shuffle from Danhausen, which is quite funny. He did the "you can't see me," and then there was an explosion, and he ran out and did the whole kind of bit where he gets kind of, caught by running away and pretended to disappear, and it fit with the "you can't see me." It's what a lot of people kind of expected him to do and hoped he would do, and for that reason it was good. It's the segment I wanted. I just think the execution of it, not amazing. Let's get to some more of these comments before we get into the main event. These new graphics made it feel like a nightmare as well. What are we talking about here? As in the blue, like the blue graphics for night 2, is that what you mean, Sludge? Banger did what it needs to do. Bravo, and the right choice of winner. I think the street fight made it so much better. I was talking about the Finn and Dom match. What else do we get? He says, honestly, my TV was bugging this match, so I only saw the entrances and the ending, so I don't know what happened. I did see the EO running, but it wasn't anything special. It was better than Charlotte and Tiffany. That's for sure. That is for sure. I mean, talk about someone else who was on a big, in a big program this time last year, Tiffany Stratton. But that's different for me. They've had a complete. Tiffany got injured as well, but they've had completely different years, EO and Tiffany. EO still deserves to be on the show. Tiffany, I don't want to say she don't deserve to be on the show, but like, I think last WrestleMania showed why she isn't on the same level as someone like Charlotte. So, and that's not like I'm not saying it in a way to diss her, because I think she is a great talent, but it exposed her last year, in my opinion. So, just like the match between her and Jade exposed both of them, in my opinion, as well. And then you get a match like tonight with Jade and Rio, which I think was a lot more flattering, essentially, to Jade and covering up things. So, I mean, Jade's a year in the, a year more kind of experienced than she was anyway this time last year, and so is Tiffany, I guess, even though she was out. But yeah, I just I don't think it's interesting that Tiffany weren't on it, but I don't think she was as deserving as Io, who really kind of should have been on it. Sludge says Oba just called out Roman on the post show. Ooh, interesting. I'll have to. I mean, let's jump into straight to the top, but that's interesting. I can kind of see it now, because I don't think Roman should be holding the title for long anyway. But anyway, let's move on to that, guys. Let's talk about the main event of the evening. We touched on it a little before, as we came on the air. Let's talk about it, though. It is, of course, Roman Reigns challenging CM Punk for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. This was, again, a lot of fun. It started with a really good promo package, and I know we talked about this a lot this weekend, but that's one of the things that was missing off of WrestleMania. Something that WWE have been famously fantastic at over the years, but yeah, just kind of not really used them lately. That was really disappointing, but yeah, good to see a good one here. Reigns gets a huge entrance with pictures of his family, and also came out to the original version of his Tribal Chief theme song, which I thought was really cool. I way prefer that one, which is a bit, I know that's a bit weird to say because they are quite similar, but the newer one feels like ironically a WrestleMania one. You know, like when they did the piano and all that kind of stuff here as well. But when they first did like a live rendition of it, and it's like a bigger, like a grand version of it, like it was like a recording of that. That's what it felt like, and I was like, nah, I preferred the original version. So it's good to see that. I don't know if that means that's sticking around or if it's kind of a throwback thing, because Punk was getting some throwback stuff here as well. But yeah, let's move on to that. Punk had, of course, his old Ring of Honor theme song by AFI, and then he came out to like no music. You heard him do the It's Clubbing Room Time, and then the theme song of Cult of Personality hit, which I think, was pretty cool. He had tributes on his jacket to friends that had passed away recently, and of course to Larry and Harley Race, which was really nice as well. But yeah, this really felt like a big fight feel to it. I know Michael Cole for months has been talking about this being like one of the biggest WrestleMania main events of all time. I think it delivered, and like it was a really impressive main event, but it had a good story behind it. I just think the build went. I think Andy said it best on the build-up, really. Like, it was kind of back to front or in the wrong order, really. It was just really strange how they did it, but they hit the right notes, but just all over the place. But yeah, tonight made up for that, man. It was a really, really good match. Both guys performed really well, and while the shenanigans, as I say, within the match, it was refreshing to not see 17 people come out and 4 new members of the Bloodline or whatever else, So, I know we're not right in that era at the moment, but there was still a temptation, I feel, for WWE to do that sort of thing, and they didn't. So credit where it's due. I thought that was pretty good. Early on, they start fighting on the outside. Punk sits in the front row and then hits Roman as he kind of goads him to come closer. Punk starts getting a lot more boos in this. Like, there's a lot of cheers for Roman. They start doing OTC in that bit where Punk does have no theme song playing as well. But don't get me wrong, they're very much behind Punk as well. They start crap talking basically in the ring. Reigns is saying things like this ain't promo day to him and stuff like that. There's a big oorah. He goes to do the spear, I guess, and or is it Superman punch? No, it'd be the spear, wouldn't it? And then he gets a knee to the face in the corner. Punk hits the second one. A little while after that, Punk's the one in trouble though. He's upside down. There's 3 Superman punches. Blood starts coming from Punk's mouth. I don't know if this was a blood capture or something like that. I don't know how they did it, but basically, it was a great visual. Credit if he actually just punched him in the mouth. That's gonna hurt in the morning. But yeah, Punk is bleeding from the mouth, and then he's bleeding from the forehead because they just get steps thrown at him. Yeah, and at this point, I was like, hold on a minute. Is this no DQ? And then I looked it up. No, it's a singles match. So, like, did I miss something? Like, because they didn't do, like, it was a brutal match, but like, it was the only spot on the outside where, like, I get, if you go through a table, that's not using a weapon, right? But if you throw a table at someone, that's using a weapon. So how'd they get around this? Did I miss something? Anyway, speaking of tables, there's a powerbomb through the announce table as well. Punk's not looking good at this point. Then he does kind of get a bit of life because there's a spear that's counting into the GTS. Only gets a 2 count for CM Punk though as well. Then there's another one where he tries to GTS him again, but Reigns gets out of it. He drops down, hits him with a spear, only gets the 2 himself. Reigns starts really ramming Punk's face into the mat, trying to get the blood in the mat, and he says basically it's time to go to sleep. And he does all the taunts, and he tries to do the GTS, but Punk kicks him essentially and gets out of it. Punk then starts to do the mind games himself and steals a finisher of his own. He hits the Superman punch, only gets a 2, and then he really wants to cosplay as Roman Reigns. He goes outside and gets an Ula Fala, I think off of a fan. I think that's what Michael Cole said at least. Comes back in the ring, and it was super disrespectful, man. Like, it does the Ura. It's so ridiculous thinking about it. Like, I was thinking when they were fighting on the outside, like, man, this is so cool. Like, Punk, to his credit, I think has really turned around his career in the past few years. Like, people thought he was done after that AEW stuff, and like, this resurgence is amazing, and he's played ball, man, to his credit as well. Like, and he's got rewarded for it. But yeah, I was thinking, man, like, imagine if, like, when Punk hadn't come back yet, people said these two are going to face at WrestleMania. It'd be huge. Or imagine when Roman was doing, you know, amazing things in the bloodline, and Punk had just gone to AEW, and people said it then. Like, again, huge. So yeah, really privileged to get this kind of match. But then I also thought, like, if I could see either of those timelines. If someone had shown me a picture of Punk in the Ulafala doing the ooh, I would have thought, what the heck is going on? But yeah, so that was quite funny. Anyway, there was as I say, he was caught with a spear. Then he gets a guillotine for his kind of naughty actions. There's a roll through though, and there's a 2 count. It's a very awkward 2 count. It looks like it could have been and should have been a 3 count. That was a bit weird. I want to watch that back because it looked like there's a little bit of a mistake there. But they didn't count the 3, so that's okay. Then it was an Anaconda Vice from CM Punk, but quickly again Roman Reigns gets guillotine. Punk tries to get out of it, goes for a sharpshooter attempt, but gets kicked in the face and falls back into position for the guillotine. There's another roll through attempt that gets the 2, and they keep doing this shot from above, which looks great, by the way, but they overdid it. And I was thinking, is this just a show off all the ads on the mat? Because it was a bit suspicious how many times they did it. There was a lot of trash talking in the ring then. They start punching each other back and forth. Then there are some chops. Then they go back to punches. Then a really cool spot, like really, like, just great. Like, this is how you know, like, I don't know, it's the small things that I think are fantastic. Like the psychology. Like, I was shocked. I didn't get what they were doing. Like, Punk took off the wrist tape and he threw it, and the ref just picked it up. And I just thought at the time, oh, this ain't the spot. Like, the ref is just doing his job. He's getting out of the way. But no, like, the ref was distracted. Boom, low blow. Like, I thought it was a really cool spot. Yeah, hits Reigns with the low blow, hits him with a GTS, only gets a 2. A little while after this, he puts Reigns on the announce table, hits him with an elbow drop from the turnbuckle. And it's looking good for Punk here, man. He gets him back in the ring, he hits the GTS, and he goes to do that, you know, that same old thing really, where someone falls back on top of him. But he couldn't. And they've done that before as well, but like they really drove home how much Punk had kind of struggled. He'd lost blood and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, Roman's a big guy. So Punk just couldn't do it anymore. And even like his low blow, of course, that was a desperation tactic as well, even as a babyface. There was a spear from Roman Reigns. And yeah, Punk was just not looking good. And another pit spear. And yeah, that was it. 3 count. That's all she wrote. And Roman Reigns is your new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And as I said throughout the weekend, I think that's a good decision as far as the championship goes. Not long term. I don't know what they're going to do there. I hope it is. But short term. You know, the image of Roman Reigns holding up that belt. He's never held... as far as I remember, at least the old World Heavyweight Championship, and again, whether or not this is a lineage continuation from there, or the WCW title, the NWA title, the WCW International title with a big gold, you know, like I don't know what they're considering this at the moment, but either way, I think adding his name to that kind of lineage, however it is a good thing. Again, he might have held the World Heavyweight Championship before, but yeah, either way, he's not held this version of it, has he? Let's have a look. I should look that up. Hold on. Roman Reigns championships. Come on, show me quick. There's too many words here in Wikipedia. Come on. Let's get to it. Come on. No, I don't want to know what awards he's won. What the heck? Where are the championships? Has he got like a whole separate page? Championships and accomplishments. Oh, here we go. World Heavyweight Champion, 1 time, current. There we go. It is the first time he's had it. I should have trusted myself there, shouldn't I? But yeah, it's a big moment, man. Again, I think it makes the title look good. I think he can't have it for long. He can't have it for 17 years again. But what he can do is put someone over. Maybe it's Oba, just like Brock did. You know, I know Sludge said that he's been called out by Oba on the post show. Maybe that is where to go with it, and maybe Reigns wins it quickly. I think it's a good thing as well because, again, Reigns keeps coming back and, like, yeah, he's distracted by other stories, but he's also not really done anything since he come back as far as the title goes. And I think it's been a healthy thing to keep him away from the title picture. But if he's not retiring, at some point, I think you do have to give it back to him for a little bit to at least, like, make other stars as a result. So maybe that's what they do here with Obafemi. Maybe they do it with someone else, but at the moment, I'm saying it's a good thing that he's world champion. I might feel different when we are 16 years into a 17-year reign. A few more comments here from Sludge. Says, absolute banger of a match. This match told story. All the moves had story behind them. I would agree with you, mate. It says, I also, Sludge also says, I'm a big Punk guy. I wanted Punk to win because he literally has won every promo battle. And then also said, oh, this is your ranking for the matches. Speed and Vision versus Usos, number 13, and LA Knight. Your 12th favourite was the US title, as we mentioned earlier on, your least from tonight. Then was the Fatal 4-Way. Then AJ Lee versus Becky, Stephanie Vaquer versus Liv, Jacob versus Drew, Oba versus Brock, Jade versus Rhea, Dom versus Finn, Randy versus Cody, your full favourite. Your third favourite is the IC match. Your second favourite is Gunther versus Rollins. And your first favourite of WrestleMania weekend is Punk versus Roman Reigns, ranked from worst to best. Look, I can't argue with much of that, mate. I think you've actually come up with a really good order there. There might be a few that I tweak and move around a little bit, but generally speaking, I'd pretty much agree with most of that, bar like a position or two. So yeah, I agree. And when I look at it overall like that, I'm like, you know what? Like it was a good WrestleMania, especially tonight. I think tonight was really fun. Number one, the pacing was all over the place, and there are still those same problems that we talked about on last night's Instant Reaction review and on tonight's build-up show. You know, the ads are ridiculous, and the commercialization of this company is insane. And again, I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not forgetting the fact that they've always made money. Do you know what I mean? They've always done big brand deals and stuff like that, but it's just the amount and how much it is. And like, as Lucas was saying, you know, who is this for? Who is this for? And I just feel like that's kind of the case with a lot of the stuff they're doing. It's all about the moment, the viral moment, rather than long term, and rewarding the wrestling fans who tune in every week. And you want them to tune in every week. You end up rewarding a random person who clicks an article and goes, huh, cool, for 5 minutes. Like, that is, yeah, I know that probably brings you some money because ad revenue and all that kind of stuff, but long term, man, I think you're not helping your long term customer. Whereas tonight, I felt like they were a lot more focused on the long term customer. Again, some of the same issues with the ads, and like, although we had the Danhausen stuff in the ring, and I think that was a little bit hit and miss, even though I was happy for Danhausen and Miz, Kit Wilson, and Cena, and all the extras. I don't think they did enough with, like, again, backstage stuff and promos. Like, it was just a lot more they could have done. But yeah, I won't let that kind of gloss over the fact that, again, I really enjoyed tonight. I thought it was a good show. I thought it was definitely quite a bit better than the first night. Match lengths were a little bit longer. I mean, again, there was one less match, so it was a bit easier to do that. So that's a bit of a hindrance on the first night, I guess you could say. Same thing last year, where it was 7 and 6 once again. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a decent WrestleMania. I feel much better now that Night 2 is in the books. Let me know what you think, though, guys. If you've been watching live or on demand, we appreciate you. Keep your comments coming. If you are watching it on demand, I'd love to hear what you thought of the show overall. But yeah, just thank you so much for tuning in this weekend. I've had a really good time. First of all, just kind of getting hyped up and in the mood for WrestleMania. It's always a fun thing to do. But of course, on these instant reaction reviews as well, it's always good to come on here and hear what you have to say about the show. Of course, we did an instant reaction review, as I say, for night 1 as well. But you've now been tuned into your instant reaction review for WrestleMania Night 2 as well. Thank you so much for that and for your support. It's a real privilege to come on here and chat wrestling with you guys. We'll be back, of course, for Backlash and hopefully a bit of content surrounding it as well. Well, not just Backlash, we're back from Monday Night Raw as well, Scott, from last night. Hey, you tuned in to the build-up show to Monday Night Raw. It's Raw after Mania. It's a special event, so we figured we'd give you a special little stream here as well. I hope you've been enjoying the replay section of it, where we did go back and look at our review from last night for WrestleMania Night 1. That was your instant reaction review. If you've just tuned in, you can find it on this very channel. You can also find a combined version of instant reaction with number 1 and number 2, both nights there as well. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, guys. And we're just under an hour away from Monday Night Raw kicking off. Lucas is going to be joining us very soon as well. So we'll have a live panel to discuss, again, some of the big stories coming out of WrestleMania and how they might play into Monday Night Raw. And of course, SmackDown's not too far away either. So it'd be interesting to see what you guys thought of WrestleMania and who you think might be a surprise entrant to the Monday Night Raw roster tonight. There are a lot of rumors going around specifically about NXT people, and I just wonder if they're call-ups or if they are actually just one-offs, because a lot of these people that are being mentioned have appeared on the main roster already. Let's talk, though, officially about what's been announced, right? What's been announced officially, I should say. So, first of all, they've announced that Roman Reigns is going to be on Monday Night Raw. They are, of course, talking about him kicking off his WWE World Heavyweight Championship title reign, and all kind of eyes are going to be on who the next challenger is, or his first challenger, I should say, for this. Obafemi seems to be a kind of a hint that they were dropping. They alluded to it on the post show last night, and a lot of people have been talking about that today. Both Obafemi and Roman Reigns referred to it. So will they go straight in with that tonight? I don't know. Or is that a kind of thing later on in the year? Reigns kind of talked about summer, so you got to think maybe there's a SummerSlam plan there, and if so, where do we go with Roman Reigns first of all? Also, we've got officially announced now Finn Balor going one-on-one with JD McDonough. JD McDonough, of course, had a very impressive showing in the Intercontinental Championship ladder match. Finn Balor himself had a great showing again against his other former running buddy, Dominic Mysterio, where, of course, he defeated him in a street fight as the Demon Finn Balor. And again, if you want to see my thoughts on that, if you've just tuned in, feel free to check out my instant reaction review on this very channel. But yeah, we've got Finn Balor going up against JD McDonough. So we're interested to see where they go here, and if this plays into any more of this kind of fallout between the Judgment Day. Will people kind of align themselves with? Will JD be maybe kicked out the Judgment Day if he loses, for example? It seems like more of the Judgment Day shenanigans are going to be leaning towards the women's side of the team. But yeah, JD, of course, still very much a member at this moment in time. Casper says, I do think CM Punk will be taking time off to recharge his batteries and then come back. The same with Randy Orton rehabbing his back. Yeah, Randy definitely didn't look in the greatest condition at the end of it. There were reports going into WrestleMania, of course, that he wasn't feeling the greatest as well. So if that is true, then as you say, Casper, maybe he's going to go away for a little bit of healing as well. Casper says, I'll be watching Raw tomorrow, but looking forward to seeing what we get tonight. Paige and Brie Bella defending WWE Championships tonight. Yeah, there are tag champs. There are rumours that Nia and Lash Legend will be facing off against Paige. And again, as I mentioned in the comments when you guys were chatting while we were watching last night's review, I think that would be a good idea to switch the titles back, basically. I think Paige, cool for the moment. But yeah, I don't think her and Brie should be champions going forward. Talking about going forward, we're going to bring Lucas into the conversation very soon, and we're going to hear what he has to say about WrestleMania Night 2, and of course about Monday Night Raw. We're about 54 minutes away from Raw kicking off. It's the most exciting Raw of the year, generally speaking. It tends to be one that brings up surprises and stuff like that. So will we be seeing anything like that tonight? Will there be big returns? Will there be NXT call-ups? Will there be turns? You know, last year it's when a vision really started to take shape, for example. So could we see something like that tonight? Seth Rollins possibly on the show anyway. You know, Bron Breakker, of course, appeared at WrestleMania Night 1 and cost him the match against Gunther. There are rumours flying around about other matches going on, but before we get to those, I will bring Lucas into the fold to see how he's doing and what he's kind of looking forward to on Monday Night Raw. Again, a few things have been announced so far. There's some stuff that you can just imagine will be happening anyway, even if it wasn't announced. But yeah, again, on top of that, there are also rumours about specific matches. So we're going to get to those very, very soon. But first of all, let's bring in Lucas to see how he's shaping up for Monday Night Raw. Lucas, how you doing, mate? Oh, I can't hear you. I'm not sure if that's you or mate. Oh no, you're muted.
No, we won't. There we go.
There we go.
No, I'm good. We're on day 55, it seems, of WrestleMania.
Oh man, I'm so tired.
No, look, I mean, obviously, I think we want the main focus, of course, to be on Monday Night Raw. Obviously, we have to address what went on yesterday. And yesterday, it was like night. Honestly, for me, it was like night and day. And I realised, again, I don't know whether how much they're fudging these numbers by for the attendance figures. Obviously, we will see. Potentially, yes, yeah. Well, it will come out because they have to declare these things, don't they? But yeah, essentially 5,000 people watched night 2 more. No, 5,000 more attendance. Sorry, for night 2 than night 1, wasn't it? Reported by John Cena. Before Danhausen and the midgets came out. His words, Lorraine. Just don't try and cancel us. That's what they were calling them on the broadcast.
But yeah, weird. But anyway, yeah.
What I'm getting at is 5,000 more people are paying to watch night 2 versus night 1, and that's not like a crazy gap, but it kind of is at the same time. Particularly when you're talking 50,000 attendance, talking 10%. More people, showed up the next night. And I think it'd be something which they're going to have to address, in the thing. I wouldn't be surprised if next year, WrestleMania, they really stack night 1. I
think they need to.
Yeah, because I think they need to show to people that you've got, it's worth being at both. But I thought night 2 was really good. Jenny thought it was very, very good.
Yeah, me too. I think it saved the weekend. It's great because it was great, but as you say, we want night 1 to be great as well, and that's kind of. I understand that they need to do pacing. I think if you put them together, although it would have been a long show, because it would have been a bit more sense, But like, you don't want people thinking like night 1's not really WrestleMania because of this, So as we get to things like SummerSlam being 2 nights again, and Saudi Mania as well, like they've got a big problem in their hands if they don't deal with it quickly. How to book these 2 nights a little bit more kind of smoother, really. But I'm with you. I really enjoyed what we saw last night, and I'm hopeful that it means that we've got kind of a few more things to look forward to going forward. Starting on Monday Night Raw, there are a few stories that, you'd imagine start to get new chapters in them, basically, because of what happened. Of course, we've got new champions, but we also got, Bron Breakker, for example, returning. So surely that's going to be addressed tonight as well. But yeah, when you come out of WrestleMania as a whole and take a step back, I think it was a good WrestleMania, but when you look at them individually, night 1 was underwhelming, and number 2 did a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, and obviously I've just realised as well they've only got like 3 weeks to build up. I will still forever call it this WrestleMania Backlash.
When you said that in the group chat, I thought I'd missed something, and they called it that again. I was getting so angry, and I was like, no, I swear they just called it Backlash. It's like, no, don't use that
to
name.
regular fans, it may be just Backlash, but to me, it will forever live on as WrestleMania Backlash.
How dare you?
But it's only 3 weeks away. It's 9th of May.
Wow, I didn't realise that.
Yeah, because WrestleMania obviously is quite late, isn't it? Traditionally, WrestleMania was sit on that first weekend of April.
Yeah.
But obviously because of Easter, they moved it, a couple of weeks past that. But yeah, the next PLE is in 3 weeks' time. And they have to start thinking what 4, maybe 5 matches, if we're lucky, we're going to be treated to. Because that's the biggest come down. I put on my story today, actually. I said the biggest come down is after seeing 2 nights where they, showcased a lot of their roster. And we saw the mid-card belts on the line. We saw all the world titles on the line. We're going back to 4 or 5 matches in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, again, we've talked about a few times how they kind of end up promoting 2 PLEs at once, don't they? Sometimes. So if that's 3 weeks ago, let me just check. What's after that?
Saturday's main event in May as well. I think it's
apparently 23rd.
Yeah.
Right, gotcha.
Okay.
That's my birthday weekend. But yeah, I'd imagine they're going to be doing the same kind of tactics. Then they'll be promoting 2 shows at once, where maybe you'll spread out the roster a little bit there. But again, even that, like, there's a lot to be refined with their calendar and the way they book their 2-night events or their 2 PLEs or major events close to each other as well. Going to quickly get some of these comments as well. We've got a few regulars in the house and a few new people sending comments as well, so we appreciate all of you. We have Sludge saying, I think they'll just get to Seth and Braun and get over with at Backlash, again, just 3 weeks away. Casper says JCJ might get called up. Not sure about Sol Ruka. She's facing Zarya on NXT this week with Revenge Night in a Last Man Standing match. Last Woman Standing match. SummerSlam, I think we'll see the triple threat for the World Championships. Says Sludge. The Mark UK 94 says Casper, she's facing Liv tonight supposedly. We'll get some of those rumors about who is potentially going to be showing up tonight in a bit. Sludge says Braun, Roman and Oba. That's an interesting triple threat. Clash in Italy is not far away from Backlash either, says Sludge. I completely forgot about Clash in Italy until it was brought up earlier on in the chat as well.
Well, that means a week removed from Saturday Night's main event as well. So they have 3 things in May.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot. Don't know how WWE could book 2 different WrestleMania shows, but I don't hate Night 1. It just had some cool spots for me, but looking forward to watching Monday Night Raw and the fallout for it now. Yeah, there'll be stuff coming out of Night 1 and Night 2 that I'm sure will get addressed as well. Let's have a look at the date for, you're right, 31st of May. Wow, so 3 major events in May when WrestleMania is a 2-nighter at the end of April. I mean, that's crazy. Mate, I guess we're going to have a lot of content to make over the next kind of few weeks. There's, as I say, there's a lot of stuff going around at the moment about potential surprises and kind of matches. I mean, a lot of it is NXT based, as you would imagine. I would imagine there aren't really any actual big surprises. I know this show is designed to get us all hyped up in the mood for the big show itself, but if I'm being honest, I don't really see, and maybe that's a good thing, because if there is a surprise, boy will I be surprised. I'm betting it is just going to be more NXT people. There are rumors going around at the moment that Ethan Page is going to be having a match with Javon Evans. There are rumors going around as well about Sol Ruka, as a few people mentioned in the chat, maybe having a match with Liv Morgan. So I don't know if a running sheet's leaked or something like that, but those are the rumors at the moment, and they're the kind of names I would expect to see on tonight's show anyway, Lucas. Whether or not they're called up, I don't know. I think both those would be fantastic to be called up, but the past few years of NXT, we've seen that they kind of sprinkled it. I mean, they've been on the main roster shows already, right? So especially Sol Ruka. So if we see those guys tonight, would you expect it to be a proper call up?
Yeah, I think because of the season we're in, and given the things that they do, I think any appearance now should be a call up. I think when they've done so previously, they've first what they've done, they've also hyped it on NXT. So when Sol and Zarya challenged for the women's tag titles, I think they won their title shot on NXT. But it's very known that they would obviously then go back to NXT afterwards. Whereas with anything now, there's nothing built for these things on NXT. There's a lot of people, obviously, who have kind of finished their tenure, you could argue, in NXT. Ricky Saints is another one. Ethan Page, mentioned JC Jane, and maybe even by de facto the other members of, well, maybe just Diana Henley, to be fair, not the other one. So yeah, like there's quite a lot. And the thing is, I get that these may not be the biggest things in the world to people, but I think definitely what we need to be seeing is some fresh faces on both of the shows, particularly for the women. I think that there's definitely needed to have fresh faces on SmackDown. Obviously, the freshest face they're going to see, obviously come Friday, will be the new women's champion on SmackDown, being Rhea Ripley. And this is the thing, like as much as obviously people like Rhea Ripley and everything else, people need to be treating the booking of, seeing how the booking of her is done compared to the other women that have held the title previously, because the last 2, maybe even 3 champions have faced the same criticisms of basically not having enough opponents, each time. Whether that's been people who, it's been people who, in a special way, a lot of the fan base have disliked, and so it's been exacerbated. But if Rhea Ripley's going to get booked the same, I'd hope that people remember, because it's not Jade Cargill's fault that literally it seemed that there was just no one for her to face for most of that title run, and then she faced Meechin, she faced that's it. I think she faced Meechin, and then one other person, I think.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, yeah, Rhea, of course, has won the title on SmackDown. At the moment, she's still a Raw member of the Raw roster. So you'd imagine she's going to move over, because if Liv moves over, that complicates the Judgment Day stuff even further. Yeah. So yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. And then the roster, as you say, is kind of light. So we're talking about these NXT call-ups, but you'd argue they may be more needed on SmackDown anyway. So, I mean, SmackDown after Mania, they tried to make it a thing once or twice, didn't they? Didn't really have the same charm.
I think it's just too far removed, isn't it? And obviously not in the same location. I'd argue last year they did a good job. That's the one that the TLC match on, wasn't it? It was after Mania, wasn't it?
Or the year before, but yeah.
They've done a couple of bits and pieces.
Yeah, to be fair.
I think as well, with SmackDown being a 3-hour show, something they've said they're trying to do like each time, and I don't really see how it's worked. Is obviously they need more spots to be filled, because it's a 3-hour show, but it seems that their more spots just seem to be just do longer promos with the people that are already on the show anyway. So instead of doing like a 15-minute promo, it'd be a 30-minute show opening. But. Yeah, because you'd argue, there should be more time for a lot of these things to exist. And it would seem that the women's tag division is going to maybe cool down somewhat now, because obviously they had a lot of stuff going on for that. One of the main pros of the build to do this WrestleMania for the women, I say, was that tag division, obviously getting a lot of spotlight on television. But obviously you have to imagine it's now going to kind of cool down a little bit. And that should free up them time to obviously feature the other stuff in each feature. In terms of Raw tonight, though, I think that they need to definitely point a direction as to where they're going to go for the main event of WrestleMania Backlash. And I believe that very quickly. I think with the 3 events, I think Roman's on the poster for Clash in Italy, isn't he? I believe. Roman's on the poster.
I think he is, yeah.
Don't know if he is for WrestleMania Backlash. Can't remember who's on the poster for that. I think it's Punk.
Backlash 2026 is, let's have a look. It's bringing up our old ones. Poster. Let's see if I can find it.
I can't remember.
I can only see just images of Tampa. So maybe the poster's not been released just yet. But
okay, if anyone in the comments knows, please say. They might, or they might release it today. But I think, essentially they're going to now go back to flip-flopping, aren't they? In the sense of, obviously, if Roman's on Clash in Italy, that most likely means there's no World Heavyweight Championship match going to take place at WrestleMania Backlash. Which means that the story would be whoever going to face Cody. And then you've got the 2 women's world titles too, who obviously now have 2 new champions. Do we see them going into rematch city at all? Everything kind of seems
usually
like it's done.
Usually,
Cody. I think Orton and Cody. That's maybe what I think is going to happen. Orton and Cody main event for Backlash. And
I'm not sure if either of those guys could do it. I mean, looking at the way Orton went into WrestleMania, if rumors are to be believed, and the way he looked at the end of it, and then Cody the way he looked at the end of it, I mean, yeah, it might work out. But I think there's a real scenario that neither of them are okay to wrestle at Backlash. So, but yeah, I think if in a kind of pre-WrestleMania world, what they might have been booking going ahead, I think it would have been something like that. I think Seth Rollins versus Bron Breakker is probably something that could be taking that top spot at Backlash anyway. It's an easy story to weave back into as well. But yeah, generally speaking, Backlash is usually full of, and sometimes to its detriment, full of rematches from WrestleMania.
Well, I guess, yeah,
but,
I mean, Seth and Bron could, like, I don't know if they want to stipulation that up. What's odd is, obviously, you know, nowadays we're so used to this modern pattern of things, aren't we, of how they do things. Whereas back in the day, like, we could never fathom a situation where what I'm about to say of, you know, I was about to say they could actually go with Seth versus Braun as the main event if they step it up without the championship on the line at all.
Yeah.
They could still then have, that's one of the 5. Then you have the women's world title match. You throw in a random tag with a celebrity. That's going to exist.
Yeah, Jelly Roll versus Pat McAfee. Yeah. He comes out of retirement.
Yeah, and then you throw in, you know, a men's mid card title match, and then like a women's mid card title match. You're there. You're at a Backlash.
Well, Asuka and Io, you know, that's something we were talking about over the weekend. So
that's a good Backlash feud. So yeah, so you're already kind of there with, you know, like a whole card for, you know, for modern day WWE, sadly. And you could, you know, I could train things have happened. We've had like random tag matches main event, haven't we? Like, you know, even above stuff like the Money in the Bank match and stuff. Like, you've had just random matches just go, oh yeah, that's now the main event. I'd imagine, yes, like if obviously Seth is obviously clear, we'd imagine, well, with how he sprinted down to the ring on Saturday, we'd imagine that Bron Breakker is clear.
It looks pretty clear, yeah. If not, it's.
So yeah, I would. That would be, if it's something I could lock on for tonight. I think that's going to be something that happens. Like it gets. I think it may even get announced. To be deadly honest, I think it's one of those where, why wouldn't you? You wanted to do it at Mania, you couldn't do it at Mania. Now, obviously, you've got a chance to do it. Just announce it and get it out there, you know, rather than. Yeah. And again, I don't know how ticket sales are doing for Backlash, but if they are doing the same kind of pricing that they've been doing for a lot of their events, I don't imagine it's sold me tickets at the moment, you know. So let's start giving them stuff to obviously start selling some tickets for. If there's another thing I could probably lock in, I'd probably lock in that we will determine Liv Morgan's newest opponent, and this may be where this whole JC James or Ruka thing comes in. I do think Liv Morgan will face someone new, or debuting. But I can't think really, other than that going to a rematch with Stephanie Vaquer, I can't think where that goes unless they're going to end the Judgment Day.
Yeah, it feels a bit too soon, right? I do think that's where we'll go eventually, but she's so in heel mode that it can't be her. Like, I think it's more likely that the jealousy thing happens and she catches him out, kind of a bit like Bayley did with Damage Control. You know, your Evolution and Triple H and those kind of stories. I could see something like that. But or she could break away and be the bad guy, which, you know, so she seems a bit too strong in that mode at the moment. But yeah, I think you're right. I think they've got to do something with her that's fresh, because I think the Stephanie Vaquer thing probably, I mean, her as a chaser, I was saying over the weekend, might be a good thing anyway, but maybe you know, Backlash is, you know, 'tis the season to freshen things up. I mean, again, there's a lot of chat about who could be showing up on NXT. Let's get some from NXT, sorry, get some of these comments. The Mark UK 94 says, I've heard Henry, Paige, and Jane and Ruka are fully called up after NXT Revenge. Sludge says, we need new female stable in Raw. That's why I want to see Fatal Influence. Yeah, we talked about Fatal Influence possibly coming up just a moment ago as well. Casper says, Sol Ruka is pulling double duty this week. Sol versus Liv Morgan. I don't know when even Paige, Ricky Saints, or Blake Monroe will get called up. Blake Monroe is a good name, actually, to think about. Sol Ruka will be in the main roster now after NXT, thinks. The Mark UK 94 says, same reports that saying that Liv and Paige matches are also saying that Roman will close the show. Break in, apparently. Io Sky, new WWE champion, Rhea Ripley would take on the Kabuki Warriors tonight. Okay, that's an interesting take on things. I guess that can lead into, again, the Asuka versus Io feud a little bit further. Cody should face Sammy at Backlash and turn him heels as Total Drama Sludge. Sludge also says Seth versus Braun, Cody versus Sammy, give Liv and Stephanie a rematch, make it a street fight or something like that. Asuka versus Io, Penta versus Javon, that'd be pretty cool. 1-on-1. I think Sol versus Liv will be a cool match tonight on Raw, says Casper. I really hope the creative keep it going, but I do expect WWE to fall off a little bit now tonight. Hope not, though. It does tend to have a little bit of a dip after WrestleMania, right? A little bit of a slump, but hopefully injecting new life into Monday Night Raw will kind of prevent that, be the antidote, if you will. But Triple H really saved the jobs last night, says Casper. Got to keep it going now as well. Again, night 2 definitely had a completely different feel than night 1. So we touched on NXT a little bit there, Lucas. What are your thoughts on the situation surrounding Brock Lesnar then and Over Family? It sounds like they're both going to be on Monday Night Raw. Do you think this is really it for Brock Lesnar? I mean, it was an emotional moment last night. The fact he's been announced makes me a little bit skeptical, because I think he might be coming out and then Gunther kind of forces him to officially, come back and go back on his word and then retire at SummerSlam or wherever it is. But to me, that felt legit last night. That felt like the kind of thing Brock, the person, would go, "Nah, I'm not. I'm just good. I just feel I'm done," and that's it. Like, he didn't want the big fanfare or anything like that. He just wanted the moment. It was what it was. It looked legit. He looked like actually emotional about it as well. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, Mark says, I think Brock being on Raw is a red herring as well. Do you think it's actually over, Lucas? If it is, if it isn't, where do you think we're going with either Brock, Gunther, Ober, that whole kind of cycle of big men? Where are we going with it?
So the last I saw that Brock got removed from the poster for tonight. So I'm not too sure if there's been some talks. Last night definitely felt legit though. In terms of what we saw in the ring, it felt legit. I mean, the commentators didn't know how to discuss it. They didn't know. They would know if they were prepped on it. They would know. And obviously they brought it up in the show later on. And crucially, in all the kind of talk about this, they're avoiding using the word retirement. They're kind of alluding to him kind of, being done. Maybe that's the last time we've seen the Beast and blah, blah. Like, there's a lot of stuff there. The only thing I can think of, and this is just based off, kind of Brock being Brock, is this could be a money move of his to go, I want more money, so if you're not going to give me more money, I'm going to retire, and that's it. And potentially crime talks have happened in TKO today where they said, oh, actually, yeah, we'll just match whatever you want. And he's got precedent for this. Let's not forget the WrestleMania match between him and Roman Reigns, the second one. The one where he was definitely leaving to go to UFC. Absolutely. There was no chance he was remaining in the WWE after WrestleMania. And then, lo and behold, what an hour before WrestleMania, he signs a contract. And then obviously wins at WrestleMania and extended his championship run in a match that everyone just assumed would go the other way. So he's got precedent for this, he's previously obviously spoken very openly about obviously the whole, if he's not on last, he's on first, and he fully gets, because something I was saying to someone yesterday during the match of Ober, I said Brock Lesnar absolutely gets wrestling from a crowd perspective and giving fans what they want. He's so knowledgeable about that, and I think when you've had the awkward Brock Lesnar matches, and there have been some, in this last run, it's been when he's felt potentially like he's in with someone who doesn't get that the same way that he does. It's like little tiny things that he was like. Again, people will go on about the match length, say it was a 4-minute match. It's like, yes, but in those 4 minutes, there was so much layered storytelling, so much layered stuff from his performance, and the fact is, Brock's never ever taken bumps like that from anyone. Even when he faced Big Show, Undertaker back in the day, he was never taking those bumps. The height he was getting, he was throwing himself from the fall from grace, from all of Ober's stuff, how he was selling the uppercuts, and everything. It's just he's such a one of a kind performer, isn't he? He's such a, and he just gets it. But I think in terms of tonight, it's difficult because if we go based on last night being legitimate, it then means that whatever they're going to do now is a pivot from what was originally planned. Because if he was advertised previously, he most likely would have to do the typical Brock Lesnar thing of finding a way to basically get himself suspended until suspended or, written off TV, so to speak. Still, obviously, they needed him again, probably ruled him out for SummerSlam, because he's not going to be going to Italy. Sorry, Italian people.
Yeah.
He was never going to go to Italy. He's not going to do a
retirement or no retirement.
Yeah. So, sorry. Yeah, he's not going there. So, usually that's what they do. So, if he's been advertised post whatever happened yesterday, and I don't know, because usually they send an email, don't they, with the Raw preview. I don't know if I've received it yet. Don't know if you got this email, but they usually have like a Raw preview.
Yeah, I haven't got one come through either.
Yeah, which is rare. Usually you get there about an hour before.
Especially for Raw after. It does make you think that people, things are being kind of done on the fly and rewritten. I mean, even down to the possible surprises. We mentioned over the weekend that Paige seemed like she might have been in that spot and then got put in another spot instead. So maybe there's just so much going on. They're like, let's just not commit. I mean, even if you go on WWE socials, it's taken them a long time to even start kind of saying what might be happening tonight. They've said again that officially, at least, that Roman Reigns is going to be there, that JD McDonough is going to face off against Finn Balor. Let's see if there's been any more updates. It says we'll hear from Obafemi tonight. It says after slaying the Beast. And then it also does say, officially that Rio will be facing off against the Kabuki Warriors. But these updates are only just coming now. 16 minutes ago was tag one, and so that's 45 out from the show. So
the thing about slaying the Beast, that it's not mentioning the retirement word in that at all. It's just treating it like he just beat Brock Lesnar. I say it's a huge deal. And this is the other thing as well. People forget like this is a huge deal. Like Brock Lesnar losing, clean
in the way he did,
clean as clean can be. It isn't a common thing in WWE. Do you know what I mean? Like he doesn't fight for anyone, and the times he's done it have all been very special, for very different reasons. And so I have to imagine that. I mean, someone mentioned there in the thing earlier about Triple Threat, SummerSlam. The thing is, like Oba, he needs to be world champion within 6 months. And the difficulty is now, obviously, who the belt's on.
Yeah, I want to get to that because obviously last night the Oba and Rowan kind of post-show comments will kind of play into Monday Night Raw maybe a little bit as well. So I want to get to that a little bit. Let me just throw it over to some of the comments before we do move on to that bit as well, Lucas. We've got Mark saying he doesn't think that Brock is going to be on Raw now, and also said again talking about the post-show that according to Hunter he had no clue as far as what was going on with Brock Lesnar as well. Of course that could be a work in itself, but it did seem a little bit of a surprise to people around the show anyway. So WWE wanted to retire SummerSlam at SummerSlam versus Gunther in his hometown, but I'm guessing last night's retirement show and everyone else and just retire without anyone figuring out.
Can't get that on that narrative.
Yeah.
Hometown.
Yeah.
He was born in North Dakota. He lives in Canada. With his wife. He went to university.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was and it was billed from there for a bit though, right?
Because that's obviously where he went to university and where he obviously started.
Yeah.
But he has never resided in Minnesota, so this narrative, can we just end it, please?
Yeah.
It's really annoying.
And I think it might have been you that said the other night he doesn't really seem the sentimental type anyway. So I mean, last night kind of feels the way Brock would do it. Mark also said in reference to what you said earlier on about Brock selling, that even Goldberg, he didn't even sell like that then. Casper says if Brock Lesnar is on Raw, it'd be interesting. Gunther forcing him out of retirement would be a cool angle for him. Not sure if he's done that, and not sure if it's just a passing the torch moment last night. Mark also says also means that what's the favour that Gunther is owed? Maybe Brock's retired and Gunther gets him to unretire so he can do it himself. I can kind of see something like that. I think it's messy if they've actually booked it like that and this isn't legit. I think that's a very messy thing for them to do. But Clay Lewis is in the house. Says, what's up, guys? How are you doing? Happy Monday. We're doing good, buddy. We are about, 25 minutes away from Monday Night Raw, kicking off the biggest show of the year when it comes to the red brand. So hopefully we're going to get some big surprises tonight. Again, we'll be talking about what that could be in a moment as well. Raw meal, nice one, Sludge. Look, we had the WrestleMania meals. We're getting the raw meals now. He's having shrimp tacos with guacamole. I'm not gonna have a meal tonight because I had a massive Chinese takeaway earlier on, and I'm talking massive. I've saved some for tomorrow as well. That's how big it was. Let's move into, again, we'll get into surprises before we wrap up, Lucas. But let's move into kind of what you alluded to there with Obafemi and Roman Reigns. For me, I was saying all weekend that I was happy for Roman to win. I was surprised to be saying something like that. But again, for that image of him holding up the big gold belt, essentially, this version of it. And as long as it didn't last too long. And I thought, well, someone needs to beat him fairly sharpish. And I think Oba is that person. Yeah. I honestly, as much as like Obafemi, I think I'm not as much as you as saying like he needs to win in the 6 months. I still think it's quite new, but I would understand the kind of impact that would make, and understand, you know, how impressive he is. So if they're gonna do it with anyone, it does seem like he would make sense. Last night on the post show, Roman kind of alluded to being around for a long time, talked about being here all summer, and he also used the word summer when he mentioned Obafemi coming after him, basically saying, you know what, keep up the good work, kid. You know, I'll see you later in the summer if so. He kind of said, you know, words to that effect anyway, which to me implies a SummerSlam main event. But if he's on Monday Night Raw tonight, and a lot of people are seeing that as kind of where we might be going with it, do you think last night was kind of sowing the seeds for later down the line, or do you think it's going to go straight into it on Monday Night Raw? Because even if it's not something for the future, something's got to preoccupy Roman Reigns until the SummerSlam match, if it is Obafemi beating him. So what do you reckon it is? Oba straight away or something else for him?
So my thought process was that plan A is that Oba will win King of the Ring. It's got the rule as a gimmick.
That's a great idea.
It literally suits already.
Yeah.
But as we know, that's a great idea with the current location for King of the Ring, which may or may not be a problem still come June. As of now, they haven't released any information regarding, obviously, that PLE taking place. And it's unsure whether they would relocate King of the Ring to another location, or whether they'd go in a different direction. And we already know that Money in the Bank...
Bring it over here.
Yeah, we got the whole Raw thing going, haven't we? And also, they're already at the O2 in June, already in the UK in June. And, you know, even if it is up north, you know, we could rock with that. But we get to that bit. My original thought was that he'd win King of the Ring, and that would give him the SummerSlam Championship match. And there's no Money in the Bank in between, so we haven't got to worry about a silly cash-in taking place to ruin this thing. So it can just be organically built up like that. The backup option, the plan B, obviously with the uncertainty with the King of the Ring stuff, may be that they accelerate it, particularly after last night. And so that may be where their thing. The thing is, they're usually very, like, when they're vague, they're kind of not too vague. Like when they do the whole, like, he speaks and he speaks, it usually is they're going to, you know, it's going to come together, you know?
Yeah.
It's just their way of kind of doing it. So the fact they've announced that both those people will be speaking tonight, and I don't know what else there'd be for those people to talk about. In terms of what Roman would do instead, that's where I'm troubling, because he'd have to either go back to something he's already done, which I don't think it's wise. I think they need to avoid any of this, you know, just going back to the same well again. I think they need to find a new way of booking this title run. I was thinking this earlier because two other champions who have held the championship for a long time and then had a second run are, you know, Bruno Sammartino.
We could say Bruce Pritchard. I was like, did he?
Bruce and Bob Backlund, who had very lengthy runs and then had a second run that wasn't as long. In the case of Sammartino, his second run was also very, very long as well. I think it was still over like 1,000 days or whatever. But in terms of compared to his first one, it was, you know, it was chump change. But Bob Backlund, his second run was very short with the championship. And so I think that they need to establish...
the one where it was beat by Kevin Nash? Like, not on TV as well.
Yeah, but also the time that changed hands from the house show.
Wow.
Yeah. the last ever title change in a house show was the tag titles in 2008, I want to say, when Cade and Murdoch? I think they won them on a house show.
What was the one with Jinder Mahal or AJ Styles or something like that? Wasn't there something?
That was on TV. That was SmackDown.
That was that was a SmackDown. Okay,
That's SmackDown.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that was SmackDown. But yeah, there hadn't been a house show title change in quite some time. But yeah, I guess if Roman's not going to be on Backlash, which I'm going to lean to saying he's not going to be on Backlash, which to be fair, because I said that, it's now to me going to be that'll be one of the surprises if he ends up announcing something for Backlash with him. Because then I'll be like, oh, okay. And then again, sorry, just linking this in together, something we mentioned earlier about Cody Rhodes, he's been announced as being injured and out indefinitely. Orton's got a back injury. So there could be another reshuffle happening here where obviously they can't do the Cody and Randy stuff at Backlash. They may move that to maybe Italy. And then they're going to do Roman on both, on both those events. Particularly with Roman cryptically saying he'll be here all summer. Summer's a weird one. I don't know when it starts really. People say it starts different times.
I mean we're barely into spring to be fair. So that to me that sounds like he's going away until mid-June. No, I don't know. I think you're right. Like as you say, Cody and Randy could have kind of set things off here, and as far as him having to pivot, if Roman Reigns. I mean, he is. If Roman Reigns is on Monday Night Raw, then something needs to be happening big to make it clear who he's facing next. Whether or not that is Backlash, or whether or not that is, as you say, even Saturday Night's Main Event, I don't know. Punk obviously could factor into this. We could get a rematch. If not, Punk needs to be doing something, right? He needs a big storyline and, deserved that. I think he was a credible champion. Had a fantastic match, by the way, the two of them last night. It was really, really entertaining. And yeah, you got to imagine Punk does something of note coming out of WrestleMania as well. What that is, I don't know. Then, I mean, again, going into just what we could see on tonight's show, there's surely got to be some element of surprise, whether it is the NXT call-up or some return or debut or something like that. I think they're less likely in other years. What they've seen to the Royal Lion in the past few years, I should say, is not just NXT call-ups, but also shocks, turns and stables and allegiances and breakups and stuff like that. With that in mind, is there anything that you could see tonight going down? I think the Judgment Day is always going to be there as a possible one in the background. Could there be a new member of the Vision, perhaps, now that we've got Braun back? Could he be whipping them into shape by bringing someone else in to help? Could we get some sort of allegiance with Roman Reigns? Is he bringing about the bloodline again? I think another one you're probably not too thrilled to hear the idea for, but will there be some sort of turn here? I mean, could it be finally where we see Jey Uso kind of snap and do whatever it is he's got brewing? Raw after Mania seems to be the place they do these things now, if they don't have the big debut or surprise return.
So I think that the Usos will win the tag titles back tonight. That was my first thing, because something that someone did say before Mania, I can't remember who said it or commented or whatever, was that there was plans for obviously the Usos and Roman to kind of get back together, and so I'd envision that they'd want to get the tag belts back onto the Usos now. That is obviously the world champ. The Vision needs to end, just like the Judgment Day needs to end. A program that they could go to, I know it's going back to something, but it just weirdly feel fresh because of obviously how much time's passed, is they could go to a program of Finn versus Roman, because there's a lot of it. There's still those loose ends, that top rope stuff.
I'm not interested unless Finn wins it, man. I don't want that same. But I mean, this is what tends to happen after big pay-per-views, you do end up getting that kind of, and I don't want to use the term related to thing because I think he shouldn't be seen as this, but this kind of B or C grade feud to kind of get you to the next one where you're like, well, they're never going to win the title, but it's the kind of getting you to that again. Maybe it's over Femi or something like that. Quickly going to touch on the note here as well because it does mention CM Punk. Casper says I would avoid tomorrow when I watch Raw, my brother, when he comes home from work in the morning, but Roman versus CM Punk was a great match and one of the greatest matches he's seen in his opinion. Mark also says, I think Punk is like AJ on a sabbatical. Of course, there were rumours going around after AJ's comments that she is going away, maybe for good, maybe just for a bit. But I can actually see that. I'm all talking about Punk getting a big feud as a reward. But, like, it's not out of this question for him to go away and then be the big surprise in a month or two as well. I can kind of see that happening. Yeah, so maybe Punk isn't going to be here tonight.
I think, obviously, that the European tour, if perhaps part of the deal, obviously, with Roman winning the belt could have been that he's signed on to do some of the European tour dates. Because, you know, I've always said that, like, things with house shows, it's always a case where they know they need to get the champions to be on, right? Because those are the ticket sellers for those kind of events. And it could have been something where, yeah, like, you know, Roman agreed to do those dates, they then decided about the title change, and Punk's put in, you know, and then sitting, and Triple H said as well, isn't it, about wrestlers getting time off is very important. And so, yeah, that could work. I mean, in terms of AJ Lee, though, taking a sabbatical, we've had 2 matches, like, for about what, 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm not saying, again, if people need a break, I guess, but it just feel a bit like, oh, okay.
I think it's the kind of like legend done with the WrestleMania spot. Bring it back when, you know, it's, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but like you'd imagine, like, okay, SummerSlam, like I can see that now, you know, just coming back at SummerSlam instead.
Yeah, potentially. By me, she won't be missed anyway, and they've got enough women who, in a special way, want to do it full time. So they may as well focus on those people, because every time they do something like this. Because now we've got to think as well, someone, again, we haven't really discussed, but who's next for Becky Lynch then? Because she's not going to be facing AJ again, that's for sure.
That's another one as well that I was saying, like Roman, I'd prefer it if it was a short reign. I'm okay what happened at WrestleMania if it's a short reign. And, you know, we talked about, didn't we, that Paige could have come out and challenged her. Well, that's going to be pointless now if she's a champ.
That were mentioned, I think both of those could be brilliant. A Sol Ruka beating Becky tonight would be... Yeah, I think that would be the move. It might be much harder with Jackie Jane, but I mean, talent-wise, I think both of the girls could do it. In terms of like order connection, what we've seen from her, it's that soul snatcher. It's just that move.
Yeah.
You know, I just, you know, again, you know, as much as we were saying, WWE now is more about moments than it ever has been. It always kind of has been about moments, though. Do you know what I mean? Like when you think about the 1-2-3 kid beating Razor Ramon, you remember the finish. You don't remember like the whole match before that. You know, it's a good match, but it's that dive across. It's how cocky Razor Ramon was. It turns into it. Boom, 1-2-3. That's what we remember. We don't remember everything else that happened. You know, before it. And same thing here. Like I think the Soul Snatch is the perfect move for that. It can be caught out, done out of nowhere. It's a brilliant move. Everyone loves it. And that would be one, because I did like, they've done it a few times, haven't they? When the Miz won the IC title at Mania, he even lost it on Raw, back to Barrett. Zack Ryder as well, when he won it at Mania, he lost it on Raw. You know, like I think, don't get me wrong, I don't want to start seeing this happen all the time, but I think it's just so refreshing now because they've done with almost every single championship. Yeah, I think they have. With every single championship, they've done the long, you know, year-long reigns, you know, with more than year with some people, long title reigns. Yeah, I think they have, haven't they? Apart from the World Heavyweight Championship, even then you could argue people like, you know, even Punk's had it quite a while.
Yeah, Seth had it for quite a bit of time as well. You so,
was it
that first reign that Seth had
with the IC title, the Usos with the Rhea and Bianca and Becky all had year-long runs with women's belts. I think the women's tags haven't had. Yeah, they're cursed anyway. Long before Danhausen.
Well, speaking of the women's tag, I mean, again, I touched on Paige a minute ago. There, my biggest gripe with Paige's return is that I think it could have been a surprise. I think it probably would have been a surprise on Raw, and again, maybe in that spot. I can see the reverse happening now. Then I could see her losing the titles tonight.
Yeah,
There are rumors going around that there is a rematch, and I'd be happy with that because then we get the best of both worlds. Paige come back, they had the nice moment. Because what frustrates me is that this is surely designed for the Bellas to win. That's the reason they've done this, and it's really annoying. And I really hope they do get to do that in the future. It's always going to bug me that Brie will always have one more reign than Nikki. That's kind of annoying, and it's annoying when they do it with other teams anyway. But yeah, I get the moment and stuff like that. Do you think to kind of fix that mess, they just flip it back tonight?
Yeah, it depends when Nikki's going to be clear. I mean, injuries. They're very vague now of injuries, aren't they? And it feels. I mean, obviously they do it on purpose. They obviously like the Seth thing. It was like he's not going to clear for Mania, and then he ends up being cleared.
Yeah.
Even like Braun, they were saying he's no miles out. But sometimes you do kind of wish they just say. But I guess they're not going to do that because But this is where like the Page return is one of those where I just think back in the days like before the internet, they would have just waited, because they would have just taken the Bellas out of the tag match, replace them with maybe another team, and then just wait until the Bellas were fixed, and then debut Page separately. But because obviously it got leaked that Page
signed
again, they felt they had to put on Mania, which they're cool. But yeah, like I think so I'd say, to be fair, under Jeopardy tonight then is pretty much all the mid-card championships. I think that one of them will change. I wouldn't be surprised even if it's two of them, to be fair.
Even Penta retaining again, I was happy for that, but only because like I just couldn't see a massive strong. Maybe the surprise is that as well. That, like you say, there's a lot they can do, but more so in the kind of shaking up the roster, right, and shaking up the kind of direction of things.
I know they
coming
said
out of
they
WrestleMania.
don't want to do the draft, and I get that potential. I kind of get it. But I also kind of don't, because they're not doing anything like instead of it, if that makes sense. They're doing these random moves, which honestly just make less and less sense each time they do them. Like, obviously, the Sami Zayn move a couple of years ago when he was, he wouldn't go to SmackDown for a guaranteed championship shot, and then he went over to SmackDown like 2 months later anyway, like for the feud with the Bloodline or whatever it was, MFTs or whatever. It's like, that makes no sense. But at least if it was the draft, and he's like, oh, well, he's drafted there, so he's got to go. Tough poo-poo, basically. Do you know what I mean? But, like, yeah, they need to do something but obviously it's very difficult because they've got Netflix and they've got USA, who have a lot of control over, obviously, who they want on the rosters. I know, obviously, Netflix were adamant about, obviously, keeping Reigns, keeping Rollins, and the faces that basically they were advertising, previously. And I know they're keen on, obviously, Cena, and then obviously you've got they were working on Cena, obviously. And USA really, really wanted Brock Lesnar, part of their product. So it gets very difficult. But they need to definitely do something to shake it up. And I hate to say it, I don't hate to say it, to be fair, but it sounds really weird, but there does need to be some movement from the main roster to NXT as well. I think there's people who, even not doing anything with, like on the main roster, like just send them to NXT. Like take like an Apollo Crews, for example. Like, we know how talented he's great, but he's just never going to get used on the main roster. Like, you're never going to use him.
You might as well, yeah.
He'll do onto a giant battle royal once a year on SmackDown, and then you'll reel him out when you need to do something like, when like Randy Orton lost it, Matt Cardona a few weeks back. Like, you wheel him out for something like that, and he'll be backstage in the back of segments or when the MFTs kick off about something, and then they see Apollo Crews and get angry with him, and they beat him up backstage, and then the next week he gets a match against like Talatonga and loses in like a minute. That's all you're going to use him for. That's literally Apollo Crews' entire year, right there, like in WWE. And then before you know it, it'll be next year's Andre Giant Battle Royal, and they just do that again. Just send him down to NXT for a bit. But,
true. And they've also got the option of AAA as well, which they have kind of done with AAA a bit. But I think, NXT, they've done it before. Maybe that's not the worst thing to do, especially if you're going to start bringing talent from NXT onto Raw. Then talent going the other way is probably not the worst idea, as you say. If these are going to start taking these spots even more off of those guys, so Yeah, that could be a good shout. Going to quickly get some more comments here as well. We're a few minutes away from Monday Night Raw starting, about 5 or 6 minutes away. So let's start wrapping up soon and kind of get ourselves ready for the show itself. Casper says, I know Cody's on SmackDown. This whole Cody versus Randy and Pat McAfee stuff was a complete mess, but I just heard Lucas saying that Cody being out also. Yeah, so we're talking about Cody potentially not being around for a little while because he looked a bit of a mess. But knowing Cody, I mean, look how he went into Hell in a Cell that year. He'll probably do an Iron Man match on SmackDown. Casper says, we'll be a bit disappointed if AJ Lee disappears again, but talking about Becky Lynch, you know I'm a massive fan. I keep saying it, but she doesn't need the IC title again. Completely agree there. I think her beating AJ was probably a good thing for her, you know, because she had lost so many times to AJ. But yeah, I think taking a belt off of her is probably the best thing for it and for Becky as well. Keep things fresh there as well. Casper says they could do Paige versus Becky Lynch, but if Paige turns heel, she won't be facing Becky. Penta looking a bit silly if he would have lost last night after wanting the match. Yeah, I said the same thing in last night's review, Casper. I think he needed to win. Otherwise, you'd have to fall into that kind of storyline where the heel's going to him, why'd you do that for? And, you know, it turns him, or he himself starts going, why did I do that? And that's just not going to happen with Penta's character anytime soon. So best case scenario was for him to kind of just be the honourable guy and still come out on top, and that's exactly what they did. But yeah, Penta's another example where we could, you know, Monday Night Raw, we've booked a lot of title changes here tonight, Lucas. I think, because again, there are no real surprises beyond what's already in the WWE ecosystem. I mean, all the big ones have already been kind of cleared up or changed. You know, Paige has come back, Danhausen has signed, Powerhouse Hobbs is there, Jericho went back to AEW. But beyond that, I mean, is there anything that you could see? Maybe someone who is, you know, like a Rusev was, yeah, like someone who maybe was around like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago that just isn't really doing much, like a Jinder Mahal, you know,
even,
like
even if you're going on like NXT to TNA, like, you know,
yeah,
Dolph, you know, it's like you get into it. It's like Dolph Ziggler returning,
yeah, Hardy Boys maybe
making Hardy Boy. Yeah. I mean, the Hardys will always get a pop, like, but it's used to people that, yeah. I mean, yeah, Hardys, yeah, but I mean, they have returned.
Got another one here. Gabe says Jack Swagger. I was a Jack Swagger fan, but after seeing his rant the other day, I'm not sure if anyone wants to touch him right now.
He's been doing
the slap thing, yeah. But he was FU Tony Khan, wasn't he? So like, I mean, look, that's going against, you know, WWE's enemy. Don't get me wrong, but I'd love to see Ryback back. I was a Ryback fan. I ain't ashamed to say it. I was a Ryback fan. What is this one here from Mark? For me, Penta when I ladder match made sense. He loves risk. Yeah, it kind of plays into his character, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Go on, Lucas. What are you going to say?
No fear thing. It's just a case of like, yeah, you can't have that catchphrase and then lose. It makes it's weird. Afterwards, things make a lot of sense, don't they? Sometimes at the time, you don't think but of course it makes sense. Like the guy who has no fear, of course, they're going to want.
Yeah.
He has to prove himself right at least once. So, but obviously, next time he can lose down the line. But the first time he couldn't go into the first match like that with a high risk.
And people start going, mate, you should have fear. Yeah. It will save you. There's a reason it's built into us. Like you're designed to have fear for some things.
But yeah, I'm not too sure outside of. I mean, that's the thing that there's always these little things they can do. Like I said, you know, yeah, it would be cool if it was the Hardys making an appearance or Dolph Ziggler or whatever. But something I would like to see is, like. Maybe if they again, I don't know what arena they're in tonight, but if there's usually, because like this should be like a season premiere, shouldn't it? Right? Like really, like in a weird way. Yeah. I know obviously they have the Netflix debut year premiere, but usually, you know, this post-Mania thing, you should start seeing them. Oh, where's new faces? Should start seeing some production elements potentially. Maybe like a new logo or change the ropes, or change where the announce table is, what it looks like. You know, there's a little thing like that I look forward to as well. But that's just maybe me being a bit, but we are 1 minute away from Raw starting.
We're getting very close. Gabe's also suggesting a Santino return as well. It says, I'm build a faction here. Jack Swagger, Ryback, and Santino.
To be fair, Santino would make sense because of Flash in Italy, to be fair. So Santino to announce something.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, and of course, it's a good working relationship.
He's TNA Director of Authority, isn't he, as well? So,
yeah.
You know, he's known as an authority figure in wrestling now.
And his daughter as well, doing good things. Casper says, enjoy it Monday Night Raw. We will, buddy. He does think as well that they should be bringing some NXT talent in to freshen up the roster tonight. As we said, though, we are about a minute or so away from Monday Night Raw kicking off. Thank you for everyone that's tuned in for this build-up show. I hope you enjoy Monday Night Raw. Hopefully there are some surprises. It's been a very long weekend, but a weekend of great content as well. The Mark UK 94 says, for Santino does want to return before retirement again. I think a nice little Royal Rumble spot would be great for Santino if we ever get there for him as well. But yeah, Monday Night Raw hopefully brings up a few surprises. I know it can be one that is overhyped as well, so it's tough. It's a tough thing for WWE to manage. Netflix doesn't help though. They've started promoting this as like the biggest show of the year already a few hours ago. So this has really got people excited and kind of questioning what could happen tonight. And I think after the kind of good graces that they've got themselves into after night 2, I think it's a risky move if Monday Night Raw doesn't deliver. So you know, there's a lot of focus on tonight. Let's hope it is a good show. Whether that is an unfair comparison or not, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and let's hope we do get something good as well. Lucas, any final points before we get out of here?
No, to have fun. I enjoy it.
All right, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Right, again, thank you very much for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out more of our content. You can watch our review of of Night 1 and Night 2 of WrestleMania on this very channel if you haven't already. Make sure you do, and we'll see you on the next one. Enjoy Raw, guys.
Right now.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.